This is homework 9, probability and stochastic. And for question 1, so suppose W of t is a stochastic process with E of W of t is equal to 0, mean of W of t is equal to 0, and the correlation Rw of T1, T2 is equal to alpha mean of T1 and T2. So define Y of t is equal to W of t minus W of t minus 1 for t is larger or equal than 1. Otherwise, when t is less than 1, Y of t is equal to 0. And find E of Y of t and Ry of T1, T2, and ask is Y of t WSS. So first question, E of Y of t. So E of Y of t can be written as E of W of t minus W of t minus 1. And based on E of W of t is equal to 0, so we can get that E of Y of t is equal to 0. And for the correlation of T1 and T2, based on Y, so can be written as E of W of T1 minus W of T1 minus 1 times the brackets times the W of T2 minus W of T2 minus T1 bracket, and these two parts because W of T1, T2 is equal to alpha mean of T1, T2. So we can get the alpha outside, so alpha. And so W of T1 times W of T2 is equal to mean of E of WT1 times E of WT2 is equal to the correlation of T1 and T2. So can be written as mean of T1 and T2. And E of W of T1 times W of T2 minus 1 can be written as mean of T1, T2 minus 1. And for this, WT1 minus 1 times WT2 can be written as mean of T1 minus 1 WT2. And for minus WT1 minus 1 times minus WT2 minus 1 can be written as mean of T1 minus 1 T2 minus 1. And there is two situations. So basically, either T1 is larger than T2 or T2 is larger than T1. They basically the same. So as this situation, we assume that T2 is larger than T1, and for situation 1, we can get that T2 minus 1 is larger than T1. So draw the diagram. We can see that T2 is here and T2 minus 1 in the middle and T1 on the left. So for Ry T1 T2 is equal to this equation, we can get that the mean of T1 T2 is T1, and T1 the mean of T1 T2 minus 1 is T1, and the mean of T1 minus 1 and T2 is T1 minus 1, so it can be written as T1 plus 1, and the mean of T1 minus 1 T2 minus 1 is T1 minus 1. So add them together, we can get that it is 0. And for situation 2, so when T2 is larger than T1 and T2 minus 1 is less than T1, so we can draw the diagram that T2 on the right, T1 in the middle, and T2 minus 1 on the left. So for this equation, we also can get that so Ry T1 T2 is equal to alpha 1 minus T2 minus 1 minus T1 minus 1 plus T1 minus 1. So finally we get alpha times 1 minus bracket T2 minus T1. And we can written that Ry T1 T2 is either equal to 0 when T2 minus T1 is larger than 1, or alpha bracket 1 minus absolute value of T2 minus T1 is when t2 minus t1 is less than 1, and based on based on e of y of t, and we can get that y of t is WSS. So this is question 1.